section we'll be looking at some of the basics of working with media in ContentAgent, including importing, organisation and using the tools within the workflow designer to build our very first job. So picking up from where we left off in the overview, here we are in the Store tab with our default set of folders. Now, as you may guess from the naming, these are provided as a starting point for organisation. Your media and your job results could live in the inbox. There's a folder for graphics that you may want to incorporate into your job, and also areas for custom user templates for tools and modules, and finally an area to save all your workflows. You can of course create as many new folders and subdirectories as you want to better organise or separate the work you do, but for now we're just going to be using the pre-existing ones. To start with, let's import some media. Moving over to the Import tab, I'm going to select the Network File Importer option and get a list of all my locally connected drives. Double clicking on a drive then loads up a list of all its contents. So I'm just going to select a loose MOV file and add it to the import list. I can of course use all the usual keyboard selection practices to build my queue with, i.e. Control and Shift. Now before I import my media into ContentAgent's database, I can decide whether I'd like to actually copy the media into my assigned media drive, or simply link it to the file at its current location. When I hit import, the item is brought into the database and shows up in the store view. Now to import a camera card structure, I'll repeat the same process, but I'm going to change the import source to scan specifically for camera cards. Now the interface options changed a little, but essentially the process is exactly the same. Back in the Store tab, I can now see the fruits of my labour, the card import and the individual MOV. Now before I make a new job, let's quickly look at two useful tools in the sidebar, namely the play and the info buttons. Now of course there's no prizes for guessing what they do, but they do actually behave slightly different according to the two examples that we've imported. Now if I just pick the loose MOV clip and I hit play, this launches me into ContentAgent's dedicated player. Here I can view the file, I can mark some in and out points to make a trim clip, and I can also grab stills for reference. Using the info button brings up all the general properties and metadata windows, which is all very useful, as we're going to see it a little bit later on in these videos. Now if I select the camera card, the play button is greyed out. Now this is because I've brought in a structure that actually contains many clips. Now the good news is that I can still get access to the player and actually see the clips from the info tool. Now that we have some clips to work with, we are going to build a workflow. So if I pick my MOV clip and then I select the new job button, this will launch me into the job wizard. From this interface I can create or apply a workflow, and the center part shows me all of the nodes contained within the workflow designer, which we'll look at in a minute. But as this is the wizard view, I can actually filter these down to the task I want to accomplish. So this is really an area where you'd build very simple jobs to start with. I'm going to make a new transcode job, so I'm going to choose the Route 6 Platinum engine, and then I can pick a template that suits what I want to do. In this case I'm going to choose one of the QuickTime options in H264. Next I'll select a destination folder within ContentAgent, and finally I'm going to come to the summary page where I can actually submit or edit the job. Now in this case I'd like to modify the settings of the preset I've chosen, so I'm going to click the Edit Workflow button, and that's going to open me up into the Workflow Designer, which is actually at the heart of ContentAgent. I can now see all the stages of the job that have been automatically built by the wizard, and either add or in this case edit those nodes. Going into the Platinum node, I can now change the settings to QuickTime Pro, and I'm going to adjust the resolution to match the original. Now a nice feature is the ability to auto update a tool or workflow name by simply double clicking in the menu bar. So having made all of my changes and saving the workflow, I can now submit the job. To monitor what's happening, I'll toggle to the Jobs tab to see the job agent's tasks as well as the quick workflow preview. When the job is complete, I can see the result of the workflow back in the folder that I made in the Store tab. Now this particular job has saved the result back into the media drive for ContentAgent. So I'd have to make another workflow to copy this out to a network location, or use the quick workflow copy to desktop option found underneath the right click menu. In our next video, we'll look at how we can modify our save workflow to do this copy process automatically, and also include some more tools to deal with different sources being processed by the workflow.